Thanks for your prompt response. We'd like to move forward with the process if you want to let the seller know. I know you said they are looking for a quick close, but considering the uniqueness of our project, we really are taking on a large risk in purchasing the property prior to receiving approval from the city on our tiny house community proposal. However, if the sellers are truly flexible on price, like you mentioned on the phone, and would accept $25,000 cash for both parcels at I think we are in business. Thanks again, Marek A. Bush. Let's get this land, baby. You want to do it? You think we should do it? Should I send it?
Scared money don't make no money. That's what my students told me.
Perfect. What's up, YouTube? My name is Marek.
And my name is Kothney-Issa.
And welcome to this brand new series we're doing called Building a Tiny House Community. This is episode 1, and we got some really exciting news for starters.
Yes, so we are officially under contract.
Yeah, so we are under contract now on a 4-acre property right in the heart of the city, in a good area of the city. So we're pretty excited about that. There's a really good price that we're getting on the property. We went through a rather long negotiation process to get to this point. And so what we're gonna do in this video today is actually take you guys over to the property. We're about to leave right now. And kind of show you around, show you the things that we were considering, you know, when we walked the property and looked at it, and some of the other costs and considerations that go into how to pick out land. This is our first time purchasing land.
Yes.
This is our first time where we're doing a community development project like this that our name will be on. We did take part and got to see kind of the Lake Dallas tiny house community come together, and we're working with Terry, the developer of that, on this project. But for us, a lot of this stuff is brand new, and we're kind of learning as we go, and so we're excited to take you along. Now, before we leave and head over to the property to show you, there's a couple of things we kind of need to talk about to kind of get you brought up to speed to where we are so far, right? So if you were looking to do something like this in your city, the first thing you would do would not be buy land, right? First, you got to kind of understand a little bit about your city's zoning code, and, you know, essentially what you may or may not be able to do in that city. Now, just because there's nothing already on the books for tiny house communities doesn't mean that
it's impossible.
That it's impossible, or that you couldn't make it happen. So you want to talk to them a little bit about zoning?
Yes. So now, a lot of cities, you have to kind of figure out what their zoning codes are. You got to see if your project falls into any of those categories. But if it doesn't, then a lot of cities have something called a master plan or master plan development. And that is essentially a rezoning of the area that you want to have your community built in. And there is a lengthy process, well, not that lengthy, that you have to go through. You have to talk to the city and kind of work with them and plan, and you literally have to like sit there and talk about every single thing that you're going to do on your property and how it's going to come out. You have to have everything drawn up to scale, and then you'll go through with your development team and you kind of figure it out there, and there's a step, each step of the way that you go, and it has to get approved until finally they say yes, you can do it. So that is the reason why we have actually built a contingency in our contract to let us kind of have that wiggle room there. If we have to do some things to change it up, or if we have to look at another property, then we're able to get out of that contract, because we don't want to tie ourselves into land that we're not going to be able to use for the project that we want to use it for.
Yeah, and the reason that we're actually moving forward with the land right now, that contingency clause she spoke about does protect us, but also it was just a really great opportunity. The location of the land is perfect. The pricing is really, really good and really competitive.
Yes.
And the land is flat. It won't take a lot of regrading. Like, there's a lot of potential and development potential with this particular parcel. So that's the reason that we're kind of moving a little faster on the land, because we actually don't have our first meeting with the city until tomorrow.
Yes.
By the time you guys see this video, we've already met with them. And so we're hoping to get, it's a very preliminary meeting. It's not the final approval by any means. We actually haven't even applied for the rezoning yet. But we go to this meeting, then we have one more pre-application meeting, and then if all is well, that's when we would initially apply. But essentially what we're going to be looking for at the meeting is just some sort of preliminary indication that this is possible. You know, this is something that we would be able to do in that area. So that's what we're looking forward to. But we're going to head over to the property. Let's get out of here.
All right.
Shout out to Luis and Ronnie. They were two of our neighbors from the Lake Dallas tiny house village before we moved out, and they actually gifted us with this drone. So you can thank them for this beautiful footage. All right, so we're here at the property, and as you can see, we got quite a bit of work to do. It's actually not as bad as it looks like. This is just a lot of brush. The trees are not as thick as they look like, but you can kind of see here how at the street level, it'll be pretty easy for us to get electric in because we already have power running right to this property. We'll talk a little bit more about the sewer and the water, but it looks a lot thicker up here just because you can tell the city's been coming out and they've been cutting down limbs in order to keep them off the power lines, but they just hadn't taken the brush away. So that's why it looks so bad. But we're gonna take you back in there and show you kind of a little bit more. It's not as bad as it looks like. We actually have already had a couple of different landscape companies come out and give us quotes. We're gonna do a video about that for next week, just to kind of show you guys how to like not get taken advantage of. It's kind of crazy the difference that we saw in our quotes. But we found a really good company to go with, and so we kind of have an idea of what it's going to cost us to get this cleaned up to the point that we need it. The other thing I was going to say is, a while back, you know, somebody had asked, you know, now that you guys are debt free and everything like that, like what has it allowed you to do that you otherwise wouldn't have been able to do? And you know, I just want to use this as a prime example. You know, one of the themes of our channel is to motivate and to show everyday people that they can do incredible things if they just buckle down, create a plan, grind like crazy, and just knock it out, right? We don't have any experience with this. We've never bought land before. We've never even bought a traditional home before. But here we are, right? 3 years later, able to pay cash for a 4-acre property. Right? Whereas 3 years ago, we had debt on our house, we had debt on our cars, we had credit card debt, we had student loan debt. Every debt you can think of, we had it, right? $125,000. We buckled down, got it knocked out, and now we're in a position to make a purchase like this on something that we're going to create a development that's going to create passive income for us. So, you know, if you ever needed any motivation for that, like this is why we do what we do, and this is why we share what we share, because we want to show people that things like this are possible. So let me get off my soapbox. We're going to take you back into the forest and show you around a little bit. Shout out to this girl. She is 6 months pregnant and she's been trekking. Even though we already have this property under contract, this is not the first property that we looked at. And so, you know, we've been looking at a lot of stuff, and a lot of it was heavily wooded. And so yeah, we've been taking little journeys back through here, but I always hold the sticks out the way so they don't get her. Right? Yeah, so as we go back here, this is basically just like a little easement that I think the city must have cleared, and this separates pretty much our property over here from the church property over here on this other side. Some of this, you know, as we get further back, it's actually part of ours, but up here it's actually part of their property for now. But yeah, as we go back, it's just a little bit easier to get in there from a further distance back. It's winter time right now, so you know, it doesn't look the prettiest, and of course there's quite a bit of brush to be cleaned up and everything like that. But you know, once we get the brush cleaned up and the springtime rolls around and the trees are blooming and all of that good stuff, this place is going to be gorgeous. It's going to be absolutely gorgeous. All right, so earlier we mentioned a special assessment, which we didn't even know what that was before this whole project. But basically what it is the city actually, on this property several years ago, they came out here and did some work. And there's now, so for sewer, it's called vitrified clay pipe, and there's an 8-inch VCP running basically from that back corner of the property over there all the way down to like somewhere right in here, right? So if you think about this and you look where we're at, this property is basically a rectangle that goes back this way, then over, comes back forward, and then comes back down at the street, and then that brings us to where we are. So like I say, that back corner, that piping is running all the way across, and then it's in here somewhere. And then they also did the same thing at the street. Down here, there's an 8-inch VCP running right down underneath of the street, as well as a 6-inch what's called ductile iron pipe running down underneath of the street for the water connection. And so basically, when the city does work on a property or in front of a property like that, they assess the bill onto the landowner. So the landowner in the past hasn't been paying it, so that money is still owed. I think it's like I said, about $8,500 in total. And then the same thing with property taxes. You guys know how all that works, but those are kind of some of the outstanding debts that we had to kind of negotiate out and say, hey, are you guys going to pay this? Are you guys going to pay this portion of this or whatever, to get to a point of, you know, something that they felt comfortable paying before we went under contract, and that we felt comfortable taking over whatever remaining balance we're leaving within the negotiation terms. So that's kind of what we were talking about earlier, but you want to do what you can to find out, are there any liens? Are there back taxes? Are there any old special assessments on the property, so that you know going in, hey, I'm paying this, but I'm still going to owe this. Or they're going to pay this off, but I'm going to pay a little bit more for the property, whatever the case may be. So we're going to go in right here, but you can see that it goes back a good little bit back there. Where? Oh, there's a deer. Oh, wow.
Come here, little deer.
We've been seeing that quite a bit.
Did you see that?
Yeah, I did. I hope he doesn't attack us while we're in here. We actually were a little afraid to come out here at first. The first time we thought, like, man, there's probably some snakes and stuff out here. But then the first tree guy that we had come out, he was like, oh no, it's too cold. Everything's gone. Everything's tucked away, so there's nothing. And then we trekked back here with him, and it kind of gave us a different confidence. And we're like, okay, we can go in here and check this out. If you see a deer, baby, get to a tree. He can't buck you through a tree.
Animals usually tell that people are pregnant. I think I just made that up. I feel like dogs can tell though. Welcome to our tiny home community. Y'all see it, right? We've got our row houses over here. It'll look so cute once everybody gets here. I'm standing here in the courtyard area. If you look over here, you can see our little grill area. Then we've got like some seating area. Standing right by the fire pit right here. If you look a little bit further down, you can see the gardening area. And then right behind us, you got the other row of houses. I think it looks great. What do y'all think? I mean, come on now. And then back here will be phase 2, where we'll have our little washateria and we'll have a little playground back here. It'll be so cute. But if you look down up there in that corner, you can see a little office and some parking up there and behind the house. I think it looks really good. I don't know what y'all talking about, but I think it looks great.
Nah, seriously though, we know it's kind of hard to see for right now, but the way she described it is the way we're gonna plan it out. We actually already have the preliminary site plan done. We're gonna share that in an upcoming video, but we just kind of want to go to our meeting with the city first. But like she was saying, the street where I was filming from just a second ago is actually up there and runs this direction. And then we're gonna bring like a 30-foot wide driveway up through the forest, and then the clearing company is gonna clear all this brush, and then we're going to save as many trees as we possibly can. But the ones that we have to take down in order to create, the community, we'll do that. It's going to be about a 1 acre property. We're going to leave as much as we can. All the brush is going to be gone. The brush is going to be gone, but I'm talking about like the thicker trees. None of them are really full grown, but some of them have some pretty hefty size to them. But yeah, that drive is going to come up. Then we're going to have this area cleared. There's still going to be about 2 acres worth of property towards the back that we'll still have available for future phases of the development to come. But for the first phase, we're going to do 12 sites. So 12 tiny homes will be in on this about acre area, like she said, with that central courtyard, with a community fire pit, a community patio, a community grilling area. So it's going to be pretty amazing. Obviously, like we were saying before, the first step is just to get our hands on the land, to get an idea of where the city, is at with this whole thing, and to start getting it cleared. I'm going to do a video next week, so be sure to tune in, because I'm going to talk to you specifically about our negotiation strategy with the land clearing companies, the tree removal companies, and how we went from quotes up in the 20,000 range to getting a final and best bid in the $5,000 range. So there's quite a bit. I'm going to kind of talk about how we did that. Yeah, this is the start, guys. This is the beginning. It's going to be a lot of work. It's going to be a lot of time. It's going to be a lot of planning. It's going to be a lot of money. But we're ready for this. We've been preparing for this, I would say, for quite some time now. And, we're excited that we're off to a start and we're under contract on this, and we're making steps forward. So if you are interested in becoming an investor in this project, send us an email. We are doing a lot of cash up front, but when we get to the spring and it gets to being time to lay the infrastructure and things like that, I think some of that is going to come in handy and come in good. So we're kind of talking to people early on and trying to get some information, but shoot us an email if it's something that would interest you. Thank you for joining episode 1 of our new series, Building a Tiny House Community. Tune in next week for episode 2. We're still going to mix in our other content, but these videos will kind of be sprinkled in here and there as we make progress on the community. Besides that, thank you for tuning in. Catch you next time.